Coping mechanisms. What are they? Why do we do them? Are they good? Are they bad? How can we break the habit? To be honest, I don't know the answers to all of these questions, but we're going to find out today. Okay, so today we're talking about coping mechanisms, and mechanism is the word of the day because I had to look it up to know how to spell it. What's up, guys? So I'm back on the beach today. Can you guess why? Because I love the beach. Obviously, there's good and there's bad coping mechanisms, and some of them can fall under both categories. Fitness is a great coping mechanism. It's really good because you get to build bonds in the gym, friendships that'll last for a long time, but you also get to kind of see where your limit lays and then try and push yourself a little bit past that, a little bit more and more and more every single day, to the point where navigating around like a stressful situation becomes fairly easy. For that, I think it's very beneficial. If you're taking things to the extreme with anything, it's going to end up being bad. So if you're starting to shut people out, if you're starting to stop doing other things that you really enjoy or forget about other important aspects of your life, then obviously it becomes a bad coping mechanism as well. We should get some interesting answers today. I hope a lot more people talk to me today. I did lose the fanny pack, so I don't look so weird. Psych! It's right there. That's where I keep all my gear. But to be real, one thing I did do is grab a second mic, just so I don't have to shove my hand in people's faces. Hopefully that makes people a bit more comfortable. So I want to make you guys a deal as well. I know I'm not gonna be able to never do it, but I'm gonna do my very, very best to try not to be like this in every single video. Hey guys, can you like it? Hey guys, can you subscribe to my channel? Mainly because it just seems artificial, but here's the catch. I won't do it too much. I will obviously be sharing my videos a ton because I do want the people that should see these types of things or want to see these types of things, I want them to see it. That being said, what I will ask from you guys, if you do know somebody that you think could benefit from seeing these or be interested in seeing these types of videos, just share it with them. You don't have to share it all over Facebook, but I do appreciate it if you do. You can just send it to somebody who you think might want to watch these videos. Thank you so much. We're running out of daylight. Let's go see what people have to say. Here with Tay. How's your day going?
Oh, I'm pretty good, thanks. Yeah.
Sweet. What have you been up to, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, we're moving on Saturday, so
Okay.
I spent all morning packing boxes.
Fun.
And now we're taking the afternoon off.
Solid.
Yeah.
Now we're on the beach.
Yeah.
Like, what's a coping mechanism? Like, in your words, like, how could you explain that to someone?
It's a way to, make sure that you are solid enough to get through a situation that might be challenging in any way, mentally or physically.
So, like, what would be like an example of like a really bad coping mechanism, like something that would not be the best or healthiest choice?
I would say like isolating yourself or depending on drugs or alcohol to like fill a void that is not like the healthiest way to do it.
Yeah, probably. It sounds like a pretty terrible way. So like in your words, like what would be like a good way, like a good coping mechanism?
Exercise every day, if that is what like fills you up. Keep good people around you who are checking in on you and want to see you at your best.
I'm here with Seem today. Seem, tell us a little bit about yourself. How long you been in Canada for?
For almost 1 day.
Okay.
I only arrived yesterday by plane, but I'm here to study for 4 years. Only here for 1 day so far.
Nice, man. How's your first impression of Vancouver? How do you like it so far?
It's absolutely beautiful. With all the mountains in the background and the trees and everything, and then you have Vancouver there behind the water.
Here, we'll show you.
Yeah.
You guys take a peek at that.
Yeah, I mean, you could be in a worse spot than this.
What do you think when you hear the words mental health?
Ooh. Well, that's a very broad question. I think it has to do with your own, well, just your state of mind, basically. Like, how are you feeling with yourself and how other people contribute towards your own feeling of how well you're feeling, basically. So I think when I think of it, it's something you're in control of yourself, but in which someone else can have an effect on your mental health.
How about coping mechanisms? What's your idea of a coping mechanism?
It highly depends on what the situation is that you have to cope with. If it's something that is stressing you out, I suppose for me what works is just to calm down and actually put everything in order to see, okay, what's going on, what is the reason I'm actually stressed out, and then finding a possible solution, or if I can do something about it. And if I cannot do something about it, then I will see how to cope with it then. but usually I just find to look at solutions before like getting too emotional first, but that's also, I mean, it's not always that easy.
So could you give me an example of like what a bad coping mechanism would be?
I think if you just like immediately respond towards the situation, not always, but as in just in a rush without having thought about what your reaction is about, because sometimes you just get too, well, everything just becomes too much and then you don't really know how to react.
Right.
Sometimes you just immediately respond out of a first impression or your first thought what would be the right thing to do. And I think it would always be best to let the situation calm down for a bit and then see how you can actually have a response towards the situation. If that's a possible option, of course. It depends on what situation you're in again.
So kind of like emotionally responsive, like those are kind of like a bad coping mechanism.
It's not a bad one, but it's something that has to come, I think, together with rationality after you've thought about what the situation is about. So it's like emotion, it's always playing a role, but I think it shouldn't be the first thing to go to in your response, at least in the moment itself. Yeah.
So if someone is like, they're always getting upset, they always panic, or they always get anxious or stressed out, they get really emotional, and they have a bad habit of like kind of like always acting emotionally. Yeah. Like what would be like a piece of advice that you could give them to kind of help out with that, like so that they could kind of take a step back when they're getting emotional?
First of all, to not feel bad for that they are getting emotional, because that's a completely normal thing. So I'm absolutely not saying that no one should feel any emotion when something is happening.
Yeah, obviously.
But I would say it's like, just try always when you're in a very stressful position to kind of like go back into your own mind and just close yourself off of the situation. Even if you still have to interact, just make sure that you're in control over your thoughts, and then see if you can get a way to get over that first rush of adrenaline, what you possibly get if you're in a very stressful situation.
Yeah, I do, absolutely.
And then, and then see what you can do after that first rush of adrenaline, basically. Yeah. So just like always try to calm down. I think that's always the best thing. But there's always, I mean, sometimes you cannot calm down, but I mean, this is the general thought I have.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. So I'm here with Nikki.
Hello.
A couple of questions. So for yourself, can you tell me a little bit like what is like a coping mechanism?
I would say a coping mechanism is something that makes you, or can bring your anxiety down when it's too high to the point where you can't do tasks or complete things.
So like what would be like an example of like a bad coping mechanism?
For a lot of people it would be like isolating themselves, or even for some people it could be making yourself so busy that you don't really have time to think or have time for yourself.
Just shoveling it under the rug?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to not deal with things.
Yeah, if someone's kind of stuck in a rut or they have a horrible coping mechanism, like what would be like a good way for them to get out of that?
Talk to someone is huge. Find someone that's supportive for you, that you feel like you can trust to open up to. From there you can also build little things, or even as simple as like taking a few deep breaths can be huge. Right. And trying to remember that everything's short term. And
sweet.
Yeah.
If you have any positive message or anything like that, now would be the time.
I don't know. Keep it real.
Perfect. Perfect. Going on, guys? I'm here today. I'm with Jason. I'm on the beach. We're basically just hanging out today talking about mental health. Can you tell me a little bit, like, what does mental health mean to you?
Your mental environment, your outlook on life, the way you deal with stress and the problems that everyone experiences in life. Mental health, I guess, is sort of just the mechanisms you have in place to accommodate the trials and tribulations of day-to-day life.
So what does a coping mechanism mean to you?
It's sort of your solution to a problem that you're experiencing, or your, not necessarily solution, just your way of addressing a problem, your reaction to a problem. Well, for me, things that have always worked are really thinking deeply about your problems, talking to people that are close to you, and taking care of yourself, doing things that put you in a more positive state of mind. Just taking better care of yourself, eating better, sleeping better, exercising, doing things you enjoy. Sort of find that it all starts with that. When you take care of yourself, it makes it easier to sort of tackle the bigger problems that you're encountering.
A bad coping mechanism that I personally have, I tend to, when I'm feeling like garbage, I tend to kind of lock myself away from people. I don't really like to kind of talk to people when I'm feeling like garbage. Sometimes I don't even really know how to assess, like, okay, I'm feeling like garbage. It just happens. Yeah. Like, what do you think would be like a good piece of advice to give to someone to try and get out of that habit?
Sort of like I said, the first step for me is always just taking really good care of yourself, making sure that you're eating well, sleeping well, exercising well, and doing the things that sort of improve your general well-being. I find that's a foundation that's always worked for me. When you don't know what else to do, that's an easy place to start. You know, it leads you down a path where you can suddenly start to think differently about the situation you're in, look at it from another angle, maybe have enough clarity to talk about it with people that are close to you, and then address it from there.
Perfect, man.
I guess I just want to say thanks for bringing awareness to this issue and and addressing it, doing what you can to help people out.
I'm Alex.
And we're here today. We're talking a little bit about mental health, and we're on the beach. How's your day going, man?
It's good, man. It's fun. Yeah, beautiful weather.
Sweet, sweet. A lot of people that struggle pick up coping mechanisms, and they can be either obviously good or bad for them. So what's a coping mechanism in your words?
Coping mechanism is, an activity or doing something that helps you get by.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing.
Right.
But it's definitely something people do.
Right.
And definitely with, mental health issues, it's a big thing. People trying to put a blanket over whatever they're feeling, and that is a very big coping mechanism.
Yeah, exactly. What would be like a bad coping mechanism?
A bad coping mechanism? I think it's probably just as simple as shutting people off.
Right.
A lot of people, if there are bad thoughts going on in their heads and stuff like that, it could probably come down to not listening to other people's opinions,
right,
or what they have to say or what their point of view is, because a lot of people most of the time will shut that off because they can't relate.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably a horrible coping mechanism, is shutting people off who in turn are trying to help.
Right.
Yeah.
And so if someone has that bad habit, like what would be like a piece of advice you could give them? Like how could they break that
Just
bad habit?
Just start small. It doesn't mean, go out into public areas and start talking to people you don't know. Definitely don't start to talk to people you don't know, because it's uncomfortable even for people without mental issues.
Yeah.
So I would just say start with a friend, someone you trust, a parent or a guardian or something like that. And if you can, build your way up. Tell one friend, tell them to tell another, sit down as a group and talk about it communally. It gets better, for sure. Like, we all know people who have gone through it, myself personally.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Cheers. Thank you.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much, dude.
My name is Aaliyah.
And she wouldn't do the interview unless I gave her my sunglasses. Can you tell me, like, what's a coping mechanism in your words?
I think a coping mechanism is like something that someone uses to sort of hide or throw feelings under a rug, just sort of to cover how they're really feeling.
Right. So could you give me like an example of like what would be like a bad coping mechanism?
Segregating yourself from people around you or activities, because usually when you're in that state, you don't realize the ones who love you the most, like you're sort of blocked off. So I'd say isolating yourself and segregating yourself.
Okay. Yeah. What would be a good example of like a good coping mechanism?
Well, I actually a couple of days ago had a super unmotivated morning, did not want to get up. I was like, but I just I love journaling, and I think everyone should try and journal. And then I just cooked myself an amazing breakfast, and it got me in the mood to get up and do something with my day. So maybe just do something, either make your bed or something really simple. Just get yourself moving in the morning, and I think that at least gives you a little bit of motivation. I think you just gotta start small, remember the things that you love to do. For example, if you're struggling in your career, don't think career, think what else do I as a person do well or enjoy? Do you enjoy reading? Do you like playing sports? Just go back to basics, remember what you really love, and then re-enter yourself into those things. Just live your life how you want to live it. Don't let other people dictate it for you.
Yeah. Now you're probably asking yourself, what are some examples of some really poor coping mechanisms? At the end of the day, it does pretty much rely on what it is you're dealing with. Bad examples of coping mechanisms can range anywhere from biting your nails to shutting out the people that care about you that are trying to help you. At the end of the day, we all use coping mechanisms. Get stressed out, we get anxious, whatever you want to say. We get overwhelmed. There has to be a way for us to deal with those emotions, and we all find ways, whether it's a mental trick or a physical trick, to calm your brain down. The best advice I can give is essentially find something that works for you and ask yourself the question, is this hurting me or is this helping me? Nobody's going to tell you what you're doing is good or what you're doing is bad. At least they shouldn't. But You have to kind of be able to take a look at the actions that you do, why you do them, certain behaviors, start to analyze, why am I doing the things that I do? Is this something that I'm happy about? Is this something that I'm proud of? Is this something that's benefiting me? Is this something that's helping me or hurting me?